Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Katie Stolman. I'm with O'Reilly Media, and I'll be your host for today's online event. Our speaker today is Stephan Spencer, presenting Reverse Engineering Google's Top Secret Algorithm for Fun and Profit. Stephan is a 3-time O'Reilly author. He is co-author of the brand new 3rd edition of The Art of SEO. He is author of Google Power Search and co-author of Social E-commerce. Stephan founded Net Concepts in 1995 and grew it into a multinational SEO agency before selling it in 2010 to paid and organic search software services agency Covario. Recent clients of Stephan's include brands like Zappos, Sony, Quicksilver, CNBC, and Chanel, but also startups and nonprofits. Stephan is also the creator of Traffic Control, a 3-day immersive SEO workshop, and the host of 2 podcasts, The Optimized Geek and Marketing Speak. I'll turn the program over to Stephan in just a moment, but first let me go over a few things to help you get the most out of today's presentation. First, you'll want to open that group chat widget if you haven't already done so. This is where we'll interact with each other during the event and where you can submit your questions for Stephan. We find that our audience usually has a lot of good knowledge to share, so we encourage you to chat freely during the event. However, if you have questions for Stephan, please preface them with a capital letter Q so that we can make sure he sees it for Q&A. You can also open, move, and resize any of the other widgets. If you'd like to tweet from the Twitter widget, you'll need to give it permission to access your account. Our hashtag today is SEO, and the Twitter widget will automatically append that to your tweet so you don't have to. If you have any problems during the event, we encourage you to look at the help widget, which is very thorough. But if you continue to have problems, just post in the chat room and one of our staff will help. For choppy audio or stalled visuals, try refreshing your browser window. And remember that the best thing you can do for a good audio stream is close any apps that could be interfering. We are recording this event, and we'll send an email to everyone who registered when that recording is available, and that's usually within 48 hours. And at this time, I'd like to turn the program over to Stephan for his presentation. Hi, Stephan.
Hello. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate the intro. So hello, everyone. Welcome, and get ready for some drinking out of the fire hose for the next hour. So we're going to talk about reverse engineering Google's algorithm for fun and profit, because who wouldn't want to do that, right? So I'm Stephan Spencer, as you heard, SEO expert, author, speaker, internet entrepreneur, blah, 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 right? Feel free to tweet this webinar. I'm sure we'll drop some great gold nuggets for you, so feel free to share those with your followers and fans on Twitter, Facebook, etc. My Twitter handle is sspencer. And website's stephanspencer.com. If you have things that you think of later, like you want to ask a question tomorrow or whatever, feel free to reach out to me through my website, stephanspencer.com. So these are my books, The Art of SEO, 3rd edition, which just came out in August, and Social E-commerce came out last year, and Google Power Search is a few years old, but it's still very valid. Lots of great power search tips on how to find anything in Google. Social E-commerce is all about how to leverage social media for driving online sales. And of course, The Art of SEO that's the beast of a book at 1,000 pages, and a great free offer that O'Reilly offered to you guys is a free chapter of The Art of SEO. It's the content marketing chapter. It's a goodie, and you can feel free actually to share this with your fans and followers. It's bit.ly/cmchapter, as in content marketing. So cmchapter. So bit.ly.com/cmchapter. Have a look when you get a moment. These are my podcasts, and I'd love for you to subscribe and let me know what you think. These are the short URLs for those, bit.ly.com/mkspeak and bit.ly.com/opgeek. The Optimized Geek is not actually about any technical stuff, SEO, online marketing. It's all about personal transformation, so kind of a fun departure for me, talking about non-techie stuff. Anyways, let's get back to SEO. SEO is surprisingly simple to apply to your site, to your business. I know it's kind of bizarre to hear that when I just told you about a 1,000-page book. But hear me out. It really is so simple that a child can do it. Case in point, my oldest daughter, who started doing SEO at 14 years old, SEO and blogging and driving passive income by signing up for Google AdSense, where she would put Google ads on her site, and every time someone clicked, she would get paid. Pretty cool. She made up to $1,100 a month in passive income. Sometimes there would be months where she wouldn't blog at all on the site. It was a fan site about Neopets, which at the time was very popular, a site owned by Nickelodeon, the TV network. And she ranked up there at top half of page 1 for Neopets in Google, right next to neopets.com. That's pretty impressive. She didn't start there. Obviously, it takes a little time and effort to work your way up, but she started with a pretty easy to rank for keyword. In this case, it was Neopet cheats, not the plural, but singular, because that was a really easy one to rank for, not nearly as competitive. And then she started ranking for Neopets cheats as she was getting momentum, getting more links, and it's pretty remarkable when a 14-year-old starts getting passive income, and she'd get bloggers writing about her. She'd get local newspapers. She got speaking engagements. She did her first speaking gig at BlogHer, a women bloggers conference, at 16 years old, and then she's spoken at probably a dozen other conferences since then. She's now in her early 20s. So this is doable. You can achieve a great outcome for your online business if you just apply some basic principles, which you're going to learn about today. So let's kind of get a lay of the land, first of all. There are 3 pillars to SEO. These 3 pillars are content, architecture, and links. If any of those 3 pillars are weak, it's like sitting on a 2-legged stool or a 1-legged stool. You're going to fall over. All 3 have to be strong. Content includes keywords, so you have to pick the right words, the right vocabulary that your customers and prospects are using, and not industry speak. We'll talk more about keywords and so forth in a bit, but that is included in the content pillar. Architecture includes all the geeky stuff. It's not just the site architecture, it's the URL structure, it's the robots.txt directives. I might be geeking out a bit here, but we'll talk more about it in a bit, right? So robots.txt, XML sitemaps, 301 redirects, canonical tags. Maybe you haven't heard of these things, but we'll get to them in this webinar. And that's the geeky stuff. That's all in the architecture pillar. The great thing about architecture that relates to SEO is that if you go with a search engine friendly platform, such as WordPress, if you're running just a regular website or a blog, or if you're running an e-commerce site, if you go with Magento Commerce and you set things up properly, it's search engine friendly pretty much out of the box. So that's a great thing, so you don't have to put a lot of effort into getting the structure right, not like you're going with a search engine unfriendly platform that is just a mess. So that's architecture, and then the third pillar is links. This is where if nobody links to your site, you do not deserve to be on page 1 in Google. You just don't. Because links are the currency of the search engines. Links are like votes. If nobody's voting for you, you just don't exist in Google. All right, so I'm going to dig into a lot of stuff, and you're going to want to take copious notes. I'm going to make it even easier for you to do that, however. I'm going to share with you an extended edition version of these slides. So I still encourage you to take notes and actually do it with a pen and paper. I know that sounds really old school, but it goes into a different part of your brain, if you do that. And also if you think about, I want to teach this stuff that I'm learning today to others, like maybe my kids, right? So they can start making passive income and hundreds of dollars a month on the side without having to go flip burgers at McDonald's. Maybe I want to teach my colleagues, or I want to teach my spouse, my friends, whoever, right? So figure out who you want to teach this to, because your retention rates go way up when you have the intention of teaching what you're learning to others. So that's part of it. And then the other part is to use your hand and write. Take notes. But as I said, I'm going to give you an extended edition version of these slides, which have additional notes already added to the slides. That's going to be really helpful to you. All you have to do is text the word Googled. Doesn't have to be lowercase, uppercase, doesn't matter. But the word Googled to 44222. Okay, so send a text to 44222 with the word Googled. Pretty awesome. All right. So let's talk first about keywords, because if you get the words wrong, and even, Google's getting smarter and smarter about figuring out relationships between words and phrases, entities, and co-citation, and all sorts of different geeky stuff that we don't need to know about right now. But suffice it to say, if you're way off base talking about things that are not what your customers or prospects are talking about, it's going to be a lot harder for you to rank for keywords that are important to your business. And the right keywords aren't just ones that are important to your business from a relevancy standpoint, but they're also popular with searchers. So there are significant search volumes, at least hundreds and hundreds of keyword searches per month, according to the Google AdWords Keyword Planner. Ideally thousands or tens of thousands or more, not 50 searches a month. No, that doesn't. That's almost a rounding error. That could be just you checking your rankings for that keyword a couple times a day over the course of a month. We want popular keywords, and we want attainable keywords that we can rank on page 1 for, because over 95% of the time people don't go on to page 2. So if they're not on page 2 and that's where you're ranking, you're essentially invisible. So if you get this wrong, all your efforts are going to be in vain. All the SEO in the world is going to save you if you are targeting all the wrong words. So how are we going to figure out which words are the right words, which ones are popular with searchers? We're going to use some keyword research tools. Some of these are free, so this is like a no-brainer. Google Suggest, Yahoo Search Assist, SOOVLE are the first ones I'll mention to you and show you some screenshots of. This is for brainstorming a seeds list, meaning if you're just kind of looking for ideas, this is a great place to start. If you want hard numbers and lots of synonyms of alternative keywords to target and so forth, then you're going to need some more hardcore keyword research tools, such as the Google Keyword Planner, which I just mentioned a minute ago, and Google Trends. These are both free tools, and Keyword Discovery, which is a paid tool. These are just examples of keyword research tools. Let's have a look and see what these look like. You've all seen Google Suggest because it's built into the Google search box. As you start typing keystrokes, it auto-completes for you, gives you some suggestions. Now, if you turn off Google Instant, you'll be able to see more suggestions. So just go into your search settings in Google, the little gear icon, click on that, and then choose Settings, and then click the little radio button that says Turn Off Google Instant, and then you're going to see longer lists of search suggestions in Google Suggest. Very cool. So my daughter did the search of, she didn't even hit the enter button yet. She just typed in the keystrokes Neopets, and then saw that Neopets Cheats was a very popular keyword in the list, very popular, and she decided to name her website after that, the Ultimate Neopets Cheat Site. And then that would be a very long URL, so she came up with neopetsfanatic.com as the URL. So very simple keyword research. You're just starting to type in some keystrokes and you see what comes up in the suggestion list. Now bear in mind that these are personalized results and also localized. You'll see if you're in Chicago, you'll see some Chicago suggestions, and just bear that in mind. That's not for everybody. That's tailored to you. There's also Yahoo Search Assist, which is built into the Yahoo search box, and this is one of my favorite keyword brainstorming tools, just bar none. It's awesome. It's called SOOVLE, SOOVLE.com. Be sure to write this one down because this is awesome. As you start typing keystrokes, then it auto-completes across all of these different search services, not just Google and Yahoo, but also Bing, YouTube, Wikipedia, Answers.com, Amazon, all simultaneously. Really cool stuff. There's the Google Keyword Planner. Now we're moving from keyword brainstorming into more hardcore tools that will give us numbers and a better sense of comparison, like, oh, this is 3 times more popular than this other keyword. Right, so Google Keyword Planner is free. However, you need an AdWords account to use it. AdWords is not going to require that you pay money. You have to set up an account. So that's the Google paid advertising platform, right? So you're going to have to set up an initial campaign, put in your credit card details, but don't hit the start button on your campaign. So you're not spending money advertising on Google. You're just setting up the account, and then you're using that account to log in to the Google Keyword Planner. Now you can do all sorts of searches, and it's all for your SEO. You're not planning on doing any ad campaigns, and you're getting all this great data. Make sure that you're hitting the tab that says keyword ideas instead of ad group ideas, and also make sure that you sort by the column that's the average monthly search volume. Just click on that column heading, and it will sort in order of search popularity. You can also mouse over these little icons that look like little bar chart icons. When you do that, a bar chart will appear, will just show up kind of as an overlay, and that's for that particular keyword, the monthly trend over the last 12 months. So you can see seasonality. If there's a particular keyword with that peaks over the holiday season, you'll be able to see that. Very cool. All right, so then there's Google Trends, which doesn't require that you to log in, but it's not as sophisticated of a tool as the Google Keyword Planner. It's nice in terms of giving you some visuals that you can show to your boss, and also be sure to show your boss the SOOVLE tool, because he or she will be really impressed, like, wow, you are a ninja at this SEO stuff. I had no idea you could use a tool like that. That's so cool. So Google Trends, it'll show you comparison charts. You could put in multiple keywords separated by commas. You can see geographic distribution of the keyword search volumes and rising trends. There's a lot of really cool stuff with Google Trends, but it's not as sophisticated, and if you have keywords that are not that popular, it will tell you there's not enough data. You can get numbers in the Google Keyword Planner for those long-tail, low-volume keywords, but you're not going to get data out of Google Trends. So you definitely have to use the AdWords Keyword Planner. It's just a must-have tool. All right, so now that we have identified the right keywords to target, we want to set ourselves up for success with the 7 steps to high rankings. These are to get your site fully indexed, to get visible in the search results, right? So just because we got pages in there doesn't mean that we're going to show up high in the results. We want to build links and PageRank. I'll tell you about PageRank in a minute. We want to leverage that PageRank, spread it, and get it to all the important pages of our site. We want to encourage click-through from the search results to our site. We want to track all the important metrics and KPIs, key performance indicators, and then finally follow best practices and, of course, avoid worst practices. That's our 7 steps. Let's go into detail on each one, starting with, of course, getting fully indexed. So this is the organic conversion funnel. This is a great way to think about SEO. If your pages don't get crawled by Google, you're invisible. right? So the crawler or the spider that Google sends out on the web to explore all the pages it can find, if it doesn't find your pages with its crawler, with its spider, you're invisible. But just because you got crawled by, it's called Googlebot, that's the spider that Google has, doesn't mean that you're going to get indexed, meaning you're not going to necessarily end up in their big database. And it's a distributed database across many data centers, very sophisticated. You don't need to know all the details. But suffice it to say, if you're not in the index, you are invisible. You're not going to show up in the search results. Google crawls pages and then decides, I'm not indexing this. And you might wonder why. The more powerful question to ask is, how do I fix it? Because why doesn't get the solution. Why doesn't solve it for you? It's the how and what questions that are more powerful than the why questions. That's just general advice, not just an SEO. So getting indexed is a precursor to getting into the first page of search results and ranking high, right? So if you get indexed, you don't necessarily rank. So that's the next stage, is ranking. And part of ranking also, I group this together. Yielding pages means people actually click on your listing and end up on your site. So it's yielding traffic to your site from Google. So you've got to rank as well as get indexed, and of course you got to get clicks. Finally, once they're on your site, you got to convert them. You got to get them to whatever that conversion event is. Sign up for your newsletter, or download a free PDF report, or make a purchase if it's an online store. That's the conversion event, and that's where you're going to get the bottom of the funnel here, the organic sales, or the final outcome you're after, leads or whatever. So how do you get your site fully indexed so that you get people or get the pages at the top of the funnel to count, right? They got crawled by Googlebot and they got into the big database, the index. Well, you need to have some PageRank, and I promised to tell you a little bit about that, so I am going to do that now. We'll learn more about that when I get to the slide all about PageRank. But PageRank is the foundation of Google's ranking algorithm and has been since day one. It is basically weighted link authority. Links are like votes, as I said, but not every vote is created equal. A link from CNN is worth a lot more than a link from Jim Bob's personal homepage. So if we don't have good, powerful links pointing to our site, maybe we just have a couple of links from Jim Bob and that's it, we don't have good PageRank, and thus we're not going to get fully crawled and indexed by Google. So we need more links in order to get fully indexed and crawled. Okay, so that's important to know. Also, we need to check what used to be called Google Webmaster Tools. It's now called Google Search Console, and make sure that the indexation levels look healthy. So we're going to log into our Google Search Console account, also known as Google Webmaster Tools. That's the former name of it. And we get all these great reports. We'll talk more about this when we talk about metrics, but it's great for diagnosing what's going on with your site. The crawler activity, Googlebot, how often is it coming to your site, and how much is it grabbing of your site's content on an ongoing basis? What keywords does it see in your content? What links does it find pointing to your site? So good, right? 404 errors, 500 server errors. It reports on all this great stuff. So that's going to give us some insight into your indexation levels, how many pages of your site are indexed. If you have a 10,000-page website, and so let's think of it this way. A 10,000-page website, just hypothetically, is like 10,000 virtual salespeople. If you have, instead of a 50-page website, you're going to have a harder time with SEO because you only have 50 virtual salespeople. It's fewer keyword markets that you can chase after, fewer opportunities to rank, et cetera, et cetera. So more is better as long as it's high-quality content. Low-value pages, thin content can actually get you slammed by Google's Panda algorithm. You don't want to do that. We don't want to have 10,000 low quality or thin pages. We want to have high quality, valuable content that's engaging for users, not just keyword rich with all the right words in the right places. This is not about just serving the search engines. We want to serve users too, because those engagement signals are paid attention to by Google as well. We can also do a site colon search on Google, which gives us an indication. It's not a very accurate one, but an indication of search indexation levels. We can even check this on competitor sites to do some compare and contrast and that sort of thing. So SITE colon and then your website URL. So for example, SITE colon Toyota.com will show pages of Toyota.com and its various subdomains, like if they have, I don't know, community.toyota.com, then you'll see pages in the search results from all those different Toyota sites. If you just want to see the Toyota main site, www.toyota.com, then you type in SITE colon www.toyota.com. All right, so that's how to check your indexation levels. You might have issues with indexation, like incomplete indexation, because of overly complex URLs where they're just way too long, too many ampersands and equal signs. It doesn't look like a very palatable URL to Googlebot, and they decide not to index it. They may spider it, but they may not index it. So that could happen. Duplicate content can be an issue. This is the bane of SEO's existence is Google's duplicate content filter. So we want to make sure that we're providing only unique URLs to unique content and not unique URLs that lead to the same content to Googlebot. Right? If we had tracking parameters, for example, in URLs, then we would end up presenting different URLs to Googlebot when it spiders our site. You might see ampersand source equals blog at the end of a URL. We might see ampersand source equals top nav or something like that, and that creates different URLs that lead to the same page of content. That is duplicate content. That's not good for SEO. Avoid that like the plague. Right, so let's move on to, okay, so these are some examples where incomplete indexation happened because the URLs were just too complex. So now let's move on to step 2, which is to get your site visible. Now, I know I skipped over a couple points. I don't have the ability to spend 3 days with you right now and teach you all the ins and outs of SEO. I would love to, or I could just point you to the 1,000-page book, The Art of SEO. The thing is, SEO is more than an hour's worth of work to learn. Okay, I hate to break it to you. We're going to just cover some really key concepts. I know that I skipped over canonicalization and canonical tags, and there's all sorts of other stuff, 301 redirects and things that we just can't talk about in this little hour that we have together. Apologies for that. However, if you are interested in learning more, I am teaching a 3-day seminar called Traffic Control in the spring, and it's like full immersion. It'll be awesome, so feel free to check that out, trafficcontrol.co. So stage 2, we're now going to get our site visible. We got fully indexed, or as fully as possible. Now we want to get all of our pages to rank. What are we going to do to make these pages sing to the search engines? We're going to optimize on-page elements, things like the title tag and the body copy and so forth. And we're going to do some off-page stuff. So that if you think of SEO as like 2 groups of activities, on-page, those are things that are on the page itself, either on the rendered page or in the background in the HTML of that page. And then there's off-page signals, things that influence your rankings based on things that are not in the HTML at all, like the age of your domain or the age of your website is not anywhere on your website. Google knows it from looking at your domain registration records and looking at the Internet Archive, the Wayback Machine, which is at archive.org. Great tool if you're not familiar with it, to see how old your site is. That's not a powerful signal, but it is a signal, and then that goes into the rankings algorithm. That's off-page. One of the most important on-page signals you already know about, links. But it's not just the fact you got a link, it's the page rank of the page that's linking to you, it's the placement of the link. Where did they link to you from on the page? Is it in the footer? Is it in the main part of the page above the fold where it's really visible? Is it in tiny text where you can hardly see it? Also the anchor text, the underlying words that were used in the link, those matter too. So those are off-page signals. Of the on-page signals, the title tag is the most important. It really sets the theme for the page, the keyword theme. So that's the title tag. It also helps influence the click decision. When somebody sees your search listing in Google, most likely the title tag is going to be what is displayed there as the main headline to your search listing. Sometimes Google overrides that, but in most cases it's going to use your title tag. So it's dual purpose, really important to get the title tag right, lead with important keywords, and not put those keywords at the end of the title tag. Really think about having a compelling, interesting, useful, engaging title tag that is also keyword rich, but don't keyword stuff the title tag so it just looks like a keyword list. That's really low value and annoying to users. Also, think of your home page first and then move down your site tree, and that's the way that you should do your optimization work. Okay? Because the home page is typically going to be the most important page of your site. It's given the most weight by Google because it gets the most links and the most important links. So start with the home page. Lower level pages would, like the secondary level pages would come next. Tertiary level pages would come after that. So going through and optimizing title tags or headlines or body copy, working your way down the site is, it just makes good sense. Keyword prominence matters not only in the title tag. When you lead with the important keywords in the title, that's better than putting it at the end. That also applies, that concept applies to writing your body copy too. If you have two pages, everything else is equal, and one leads with the important keyword in the first paragraph, and the other one didn't mention it until the very last paragraph. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, this whole page was about XYZ. Well, you're not going to rank well as well for XYZ with the latter. It's going to be the former that sets the more prominent keyword theme. Okay, so that is called keyword prominence. You might have heard of the term keyword density. Don't waste your time with that. That's a fool's errand. It really is a red herring. Don't just ignore that if you ever see that in various SEO tools. Meta tags. Well, you might have heard of meta tags before, and are they important for SEO? For the most part, not really. They're more of a second-order activity, and the reason why is because they don't move your rankings up. There's the meta description, which is the most valuable of the meta tags. I mean, there's the meta robots tag, which is a geeky thing that you're going to use if you want pages to get no indexed or whatever. But of the meta tags that you would typically use, the meta description is the one, and it's a second-order activity because it doesn't move you up the rankings one iota. So don't waste a lot of time on that. Focus on the high-impact activities like going through and optimizing your title tags. Meta descriptions influence the snippet that's displayed in your search listing, and that can increase the click-through rate from the search results. But if you're still at position 8, do the stuff that moves you up to position 6 or 5 instead. Get to that stuff and set aside the meta description optimization project, okay? And then there's this thing called meta keywords, complete and utter waste of time, always has been in terms of Google optimization. Google never counted the meta keywords tag as a positive ranking signal, never. This is a great little quiz to give to your SEO if you have an SEO working for you either as a contractor or agency or in-house person. To say, tell me about your process for optimizing meta keywords, not letting on that you know that meta keywords never counted. And they might say, well, they don't count that much, or they're not as important as they used to be, and all those answers are bunk. And then you should know, hey, I need to fire this person or this company because they don't know SEO from a hole in the ground. This is just terrible. Meta keywords never counted, ever, ever, ever. Google went on record to say this in the Google Webmaster Central blog. This is a great way to find out if you got a poser or a charlatan working for you on your SEO, because if they don't know that basic piece of information, they have no business accessing your Google Search Console and optimizing your keywords and keyword themes. I'm talking about not meta keywords and so forth. Right? And if you have meta keywords on your site, just remove them, because all you're doing is you're giving free competitive information to your competition. Don't do that. Okay, text navigation is better than graphical navigation because the underlined words, they don't have to be underlined, but if they're text links, they get associated with the page that's being linked to. Using the word click here, not so great, because you're telling Google, hey, this page is all about click here. If you want to rank for click here, great, keep it up. But if you want to rank for a valuable keyword, that should be in your anchor text in the underlined words instead. And so text navigation, because it has text links, is great for SEO. Graphical navigation, not as much, because the alt attributes are not as powerful. They're not weighted as heavily by Google when you relate them to the page that's being linked to. And then finally, what about Flash? What about Ajax? What about these technologies that may not be very search engine friendly? Well, they're not, and so if you can avoid using them, if it's important to SEO that content gets indexed and you're using Ajax, that's not a great idea, because Google's getting better at indexing Ajax or JavaScript-based content and links, but it's nowhere near as effective as doing this regular semantically marked up HTML. All right, so that is a lot about stage 2, getting your pages to rank. I'm going to skip over these couple of examples of meaningful and not so meaningful title tags. This is a quick little trick to see what is text and what's graphical, is just to hit Control-A or Command-A on a Mac, which is just a shortcut for Select All. And so I just did a Select All on a page to see, oh, all that side nav, the left nav is all text links. The text overlaying the big masthead graphic, or the big hero image with all the sale and clearance stuff, that's all part of the graphic. That's not actual text. Well, it just gives you a quick sense for what's text, what's graphics. We talked about meta tags already. And now let's move on to the next stage in the process, build links and PageRank. If you don't have links, you don't deserve to rank. That's like core principle number 1. No links, no PageRank. No links, no rankings. PageRank, as I said, is Google's weighted form of link popularity. It bakes into the algorithm not just importance, but also trust. More trusted sites linking to you is better than untrusted sites linking to you. How do you know if it's a trusted site? Well, there are tools, third-party tools that will tell you, such as the Moz tool, Open Site Explorer, or Majestic.com is another tool, or Ahrefs, or LinkResearchTools.com. I have all these tools because they're all awesome and they're all important, and they have different algorithms, they have different data sets, they crawl the web differently, etc. And I want to be able to compare and contrast and look for correlation between the different tools, and see that hey, this trend really is real because 3 of the tools are telling me that. So definitely get the right tools in your tool shed, because without it, you're kind of flying blind. So with a tool such as, let's use Majestic as an example, Majestic.com, you're going to get scores, these metrics out called citation flow and trust flow. Citation flow is their approximation of PageRank, and trust flow is their approximation of trust. So the way that trust rank would work versus PageRank is that trust rank would start from a seed set of sites that are trusted, like Harvard and Cambridge and Oxford and FirstGov and the National Science Foundation, like really high trust sites, and then calculate PageRank outward from there instead of a random seed set of sites and calculating outward from there. Okay, so trust is baked into the algorithm, absolutely. More trusted sites linking to you is better for your rankings. All right, so how does PageRank work? Well, we're not going to really get a look under the hood because Google doesn't share that super secret information. Way back in the day when Google didn't even exist, the founders of Google published a academically peer-reviewed article about PageRank, and that gives us an indication of the early days of what got baked into the PageRank algorithm. However, a couple of key points I'll point out for you. One is that internal PageRank is not the same thing as the PageRank that we used to be able to see through the Google toolbar, which we don't see the updated PageRanks anymore. That Google stopped that a while ago. So if you were paying attention to that, that was like green pixel fairy dust. It's just for entertainment purposes only. It didn't really give us a real insight into what the internal PageRank was. But the internal PageRank and the external PageRank that we would see was logarithmic. What's logarithmic? Well, it means that the gaps between the integers get logarithmically larger the closer you get to 10. Meaning like a Richter scale is also logarithmic. A 5 out of 10 is not halfway there. It's at base camp. If you looked at a mountain and 10 was the top of the mountain, 9 is like halfway up the mountain. 5 out of 10 is way down at base camp. So it's like you just barely started up the mountain. So looking at scores like MozRank score of 5 out of 10, because it's logarithmic just like PageRank, it's not so impressive. So keep working at it. So how do we work at it? We build high-quality links, important, trusted, authoritative links. We don't just get a bunch of Jim Bobs to link to our site. We get important sites, trusted sites, authoritative sites linking to us. We have to have great content. It needs to be remarkable, worth remarking about. That is Seth Godin's definition of remarkable. It doesn't have to be the best, most interesting, most useful thing out there, most humorous. It just has to have something about it that's worth remarking about, a purple cow, in other words. Okay? So you have great, i.e. remarkable content. You have relationships with business partners and stuff, but if the links look commercial, then Google's going to discount those. Maybe fully, maybe partially. So reciprocal links and different business units and distributors and so forth linking to you, those don't count nearly as much as a link earned by merit from a high-profile blogger. There's this thing called link bait. Nowadays, the buzzword is content marketing. It's the same thing. The idea here is you're going to put out remarkable stuff, and you're going to seed it into social media from power user accounts, because I hate to break it to you, you're not a power user, most likely. You don't have this huge fan base on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram, and so forth and so on, Reddit, etc. Right? So you got to get a power user to, you call in a favor with them, you do something nice for them, whatever, and then they seed this remarkable thing, infographic, whatever it is, into social media. Okay? And then from there, because we don't care about this, an intermediary impact or effect. We're looking for the end game of great links. So if we get shares and likes and retweets and plus ones and all that, that's nice, and that's great for getting more visibility inside of social media. But as far as a rankings impact, that's not going to do it for us. We need the links, so we want to do this strategically so we get in front of the linkerati, people who have a great deal of authority, trust, and importance in the eyes of Google. So if we, let's say that we have something go really popular, goes viral inside of Reddit, ends up on the front page, and there are a lot of influencers, a lot of linkerati watching Reddit. It's like the front page of the internet, so then we'll get a lot of links out of that. That's the end game, okay? And so social media is an essential tool to get us to that end game of high quality links. And we're going to see this link bait from power user accounts, people who have really high link karma on Reddit, for example, people who have a huge fan base on Twitter, a lot of followers and so forth. Not fake followers, like not bots and things like that. You can use Twitter audit to see what percentage of your Twitter account followers are bots. But yeah, real people and lots of engagement, and then that gets the snowball effect going. So you start rolling a small snowball down the hill, and then it grows really quickly. And that's how we get something to go viral. If it's worthy to go viral, a lot of stuff you think, oh, this is really good, but it's not. It's missing the special sauce. It doesn't deserve to be at the top of BuzzFeed or Upworthy or Distractify or Viral Nova, right? If you're not writing stuff that is that awesome, that remarkable, it's just not going to go viral. And even if you do, it's probably not going to go viral. You have to keep doing it, and you have to get these relationships with power users because it's just an essential component. So always give recognition if you're republishing somebody's infographic or whatever. Always give recognition. When you create something that you want attribution for, do a Creative Commons license. If it's like this great photo that you want people to reuse, Creative Commons license with attribution. You can publish all sorts of unique content in different formats. You can take this concept of whatever, like Zappos did the Guinness World Records for simultaneous high fives. They could have leveraged that in all these different formats and done an infographic on ways to do high fives or other hand gestures and what they mean in different countries, different parts of the world. Some will get you shot, for example, in the wrong places in the world. So that's an infographic. They could have done these viral videos of like people's reactions on the street when you do different hand gestures and different kinds of high fives. They could have done personality tests or quizzes, like to see if you knew what these different kinds of hand gestures meant and so forth. All sorts of different ways of repurposing the same concept. So here are a couple of examples of infographics, geeks versus nerds. Apparently I'm both. Darn it. This is an infographic about hand gestures and what they mean in different parts of the world. This is a fun personality test. How many 5-year-olds could you take on in a fight? Turns out I can take on 15 because I'm willing to pick up one and use him as a weapon against others. So that's a real key if you want to take on a lot of 5-year-olds. And then obviously that's all in jest, and that's remarkable. It's like, what the heck? I got to tell my friends about that. I need to blog about it. This was a microsite called mentosintern.com that Perfetti Van Melde made. That's the makers of Mentos. They had this college intern working for them all summer. His job in its entirety was to sit in front of the computer all summer in front of a webcam and then chat with people who showed up on the site. And then if they assigned him work, he would do it. Right? Oh, hey, can you fill out this spreadsheet for me? So that got him a lot of links. And unfortunately, they shut the site off and didn't 301 redirect, passing the PageRank to their main Mentos site. So that was all for naught as far as an SEO play that just completely fell flat when they stopped. They turned the site off and just shut it down. This is a fun kind of spoof site. Avoid getting suckered into buying a counterfeit Mini. And guess who was behind that? Mini, right? You didn't know that, but finally it came out that that's who was behind it. So once you've got lots of great PageRank flowing into your site, probably a lot of it's flowing into your homepage, but if you've done a great job at creating remarkable content and this content marketing stuff, and you're hosting a lot of it on your blog, then your various blog articles and quizzes and things on there are getting lots of PageRank too, and that's effectively the rising tide that lifts all boats, as with the assumption that you've done a good job of your internal linking. Because if you haven't, if you have orphan pages that you want to rank, and orphan pages are ones that you don't even link to, you're done. So don't get this wrong. Don't mess this up. You need to really think through your internal linking structure and make sure that your important pages are getting linked to prominently. If you have your top selling products and they're 3 clicks deep from the home page, you blew it. They should be featured on your home page. They should be 1 click away from the home page. Don't worry about hoarding PageRank. That's folly by saying, well, I'm not linking out to anybody because I want to keep all the PageRank for myself. That's just greedy and selfish. Don't do that. And don't link to bad neighborhoods. And don't have bad neighborhoods linked to you. Those are toxic links. When people link to you that are really sketchy and you're embarrassed that they're linking to you, first of all, you need to root that out, identify those toxic links, and then disavow them. But first, you've got to try and get them to remove the link and show some amount of that. If you get hit by the Google Penguin algorithm or a manual links penalty, manual action, which will show up inside of your Google Search Console, then you just have to clean that up. But if you're linking to bad neighborhoods, like sites that are really sketchy because they, it was some reciprocal linking deal or whatever, you were in some reciprocal linking network, oh my goodness, you've got to stop that because you are really ruining your reputation in the eyes of Google. Be sure that if you're running a blog, that you're following all comment links, because you're going to get spammed to death by people who just want a link from you, and that's the only reason why they're commenting. And a lot of times they're using tools to, robot tools to comment, oh, great blog post, very insightful. And of course, it's not a human being saying that. It was just a robot, a tool that they had spamming the heck out of the blogosphere. So nofollow is your friend. Use it to not pass PageRank to untrusted sites that you're linking to, and pay attention to how you pass PageRank, because remember, links are the currency of the web, and the currency of the search engines at least, and you got to spend that wisely. Next, we got to encourage click-through. So that means we want to get people to click from the search results to our listing and on our listing and to our site. Thus, we get the traffic. If they see our listings and they never click, that's not good. That's really not good. It's a bad signal to Google that the clicks aren't happening. Google tracks that, and it doesn't get us the end game of getting the traffic to our site that turns into sales. We want to get people to click, and this is where the meta description comes in handy. I wrote a really great article for Search Engine Land, Anatomy of a Google Snippet, which you can read and learn about when Google tends to use a meta description for a snippet and when it doesn't, or what it might use instead, etc. So that's all written up in a Search Engine Land article. In fact, I have a ton of great Search Engine Land articles. If you go to my site, stephenspencer.com, and then under resources, I have just, 50 at least different articles, Search Engine Land, Multi-Channel Merchant, Huffington Post, etc., etc. So go to stephenspencer.com for all this great, awesome content, articles and videos, archived webinars, etc., etc. So we want to get a click-through by getting a really compelling title tag to display in our search listing, one that compels the user to click on it, right? So Zappos, former clients and multiple-time client of mine, they have this great value proposition of free shipping both ways. That is awesome. Free shipping both ways. They could put that in the title, and they're not trying to rank for that keyword, but that will definitely compel the click. If they lead with the important keyword that they're chasing after and formulate it in a way that it just reads well, and they mention free shipping both ways, that's compelling. That's going to get some clicks. So there is some studies done on eye tracking, looking at where people looked on the page and the search results, and it's crazy. People don't read the full search listing anymore. They used to only for the first couple of search listings. Now they don't even, they just go straight down the page on the left margin to see if there's something that they should click on. Being number one or number two is so critical. The click-through rates drop off just precipitously as you go down the search results. One study was like 3 times as many clicks on position number one versus number two. Another study showed almost 4 times. You want to really ratchet up to the top of the search results. And here's an example of a good search listing versus a bad one. Well, one really bad one and 2 pretty good ones. The sign-in one, that's not a good look, right? Like there's no value proposition there. Okay, so one of the last bits here now is to track the right metrics, KPIs, key performance indicators. We mentioned indexation and tracking that with Google Search Console, tracking your the number of links that you have and the trust flow and citation flow or Moz rank of these different inbound links. So you're going to use third-party tools for that. Tracking your rankings, you can use a tool like Authority Labs for that, or Moz.com. Using the Google AdWords keyword tool for tracking, or Keyword Planner to track your keyword popularity across your keyword portfolio, how popular these different keywords are. Track your ROI, return on investment, on your marketing spend, on your SEO spend. Yeah, there's just a ton of stuff that you could track. That's like a whole other webinar. In fact, it was a whole other webinar. If you email my assistant, I'll get you a recording of a 60-minute webinar on SEO metrics, because that's important stuff. If you don't know where you've been, you can't know where you're going, or if you're only looking at what you were doing and you don't have predictive metrics or kind of preemptive metrics, then you're just driving your car looking in the rearview mirror, and that'll get you in a crash. So metrics are important. Email admin@stephenspencer.com for a 60-minute webinar recording on that topic. Okay? And then finally, step 7 out of 7 is to avoid the worst practices and apply the best practices that you've been learning about this whole webinar. So what would be worst practices? Things like low-quality links pointing to your site, having tiny text and that you just have there for SEO purposes. Maybe it's like way down in the footer of your page, and it's just all full of keywords, and it's not something humans would want to read, so you make it small or whatever. There are a lot of the stupid stuff that you just common sense. It would not make sense for you to do that. It would not make sense for you to go yelling it from the rooftops to Google engineers. Hey, I'm doing this. I made all this SEO copy. I put it on the footer of my home page where people aren't going to look at it because it's really a horrible copy. I sell widgets, and widgets are what I sell. I love widgets. Don't you love widgets? We eat, sleep, drink, whatever, widgets, and widgets, buy our widgets. That would just deserve you to get slapped by Google. Don't do that sort of stuff. So this is not the sort of thing that you want to do. Okay? And then doorway pages, if you're just writing content purely for search engines, that will surely get you slapped by Google. This is an example from BMW Germany, and they got banned by Google for a time because of that nonsense. They were doing something even more nefarious. They were doing sneaky redirects and saying, human being, here's door number A, or door A, and Googlebot, here's door B. So door B would be, here's the spammy, keyword-rich page full of nonsense stuff that humans aren't going to want to read. And then, here is a human. Let's quickly redirect them to this nice, clean, pretty-looking page instead of that horrible page that we just looked at. That's, like, stupid. Keyword stuffing, like putting on the site, dog beds, dog collars, dog bowls, dog this, dog that, and every single link in the side nav. I mean, seriously, that's like ridiculous. That was purely for SEO. And then you scroll down, and it gets worse. All that SEO copy that I made fun of a minute ago, they did that at the bottom in the footer, even below their copyright statement. And then they went to even them, like, totally on top, just, this was crazy. If you view the HTML source, that nonsense SEO copy was at the top of the HTML. So they did some CSS trickery to get that to display way down in the bottom part of the page, but in the HTML it looked like it was at the top. Really silly. All right, and hidden links, don't do that either. Like that was the word all in all rights reserved ended up being a link, but you couldn't tell. You had to click on it, and then it would lead to a hallway page full of nonsense. Don't do that. Run toxic link reports periodically to see how many toxic links are pointing to your site. Yes, you can get slammed by Google because of a competitor building low-quality links to your site. Like, there are evil competitors out there that will do that to you, so keep an eye on this. Use a tool like Link Detox. Phew, boy, we're at the top of the hour now. I will stick around for like, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. We'll answer your questions because we did get some questions coming in, and if you have questions now that you want to run past me, please feel free. But in summary, we want the 7 steps to higher rankings. We want to get the keywords right. We want to optimize the site architecture and get good indexation going. We want to create killer content that's remarkable. We want to do proactive link building and not just sit back and wait for the links to come. We want to spend that PageRank that we've earned wisely across all the important pages of our site. We want to measure everything, KPIs and ROI and all that, the TLAs, 3-letter acronyms. And then finally, we want to test and improve and iterate over time. So let's move on to Q&A. Here's again my Twitter handle, @Spencer. If you want to ask me a question afterwards and you just don't have time right now to stick around, no problem. Just email me directly, Stephan@StephanSpencer.com. And if you want the heavily annotated copy of this PowerPoint and you didn't get the text number, feel free to ask for that when you email my assistant, admin@StephanSpencer.com. You also can get the webinar recording that I mentioned and an SEO best and worst practices checklist, all for free from my assistant. Okay, so thank you, everyone. We're going to open it up for Q&A now.
Well, we have quite a few questions already, and just to remind the audience that if you'd like to ask Stephan a question, just type it in the group chat. If you could put a Q in front of it, so we know that it's a question for him. But we'll go from the first one that came in. Is the text content proportion of the web page any important for good ranking? SEO optimization tools keep saying I need to increase the amount of text on my pages.
Right. So I've had clients who just don't have any content on pages, textual content, like Chanel, no content. It's just imagery and that's their branding and so forth. And it's like, if there's nothing for the search engine spiders to sink their teeth into text-wise, it's going to be really hard to rank for keyword themes. And I unfortunately didn't get them to see it my way because the brand police overrode me. But if you don't have any text, you're going to have a hard time with your SEO. If you have a little bit of text, that's really not great. That's not a great user experience. If I end up on a page from Google search and it has 20 words on it, that's probably not very helpful. But there's no hard and fast rule that says I have to have at least 200 words or 250 words or 500 words. It's just make it as much content as is needed to be effective, from like answering the question and helping the user and the visitor, and no more. Like, you don't need to stuff a bunch of nonsense text. Like, this isn't, you're not trying to get on the New York Times bestseller list with a book and it has to be at least 200 pages, and right now it's 50 pages, and you got to figure out I got to add 150 pages of fluff. No, this is about adding value. Add massive value. And don't worry so much about hitting the right word count, as long as it's not just ridiculously minimal. Like 50 words is not enough.
So David's asking a code question, so let me make sure that I can read this out correctly. About text navigation, what about doing something like this, where he has the LI tag, a span tag, some text, and then where LI has a background image and overflow, hidden in span has a left margin of -2,000 pixels, essentially hiding the text.
Okay. we're dealing with a geeky geeky person. No problem. I'm a geek too. So essentially, what this is image replacement technique, CSS image replacement. You're taking something that would be outside the margins of the screen if CSS were turned off. Or I'm sorry, that it's on the screen if CSS is turned off, but it's pushed outside the margins when CSS is turned on, and then it could be replaced by an image, which is essentially the same thing, which is fine. It's legitimate as long as you follow it to the letter and you're not trying to play games with Google. If you have an image like a logo or something and it's only displayed if CSS is turned on, and instead there's this keyword-rich phrase that includes some additional words besides your company name that's in the logo, then you are going to get slammed by Google because they are so watching this sort of technique like a hawk, any kind of pushing stuff outside the margins. Anything that is outside the margins or initially hidden div or whatever is at least going to get partially discounted by Google. So when you have multiple tabs and the technical specs and all that are in a separate tab on the page, and it's only visible, it's in the HTML, but it's only visible when you click on the tab as a user, Google interprets the CSS and the JavaScript and everything and looks for that sort of stuff, sees that, oh, this is all hidden, I'm not counting it, or I'm partially discounting it.
Let's see, we have another technical question from Liam wanting to know if he can still use tracking parameters if it's set in GSC menu crawl to URL parameters. If configured correctly, Google should not treat the URL variations as duplicate. This way I can still benefit from Google Analytics tracking functionality.
Right. So Google Search Console, GSC, is full of great tools. I wish we could have gone into them in detail. One of them is a URL parameter tool where you can specify that this is a superfluous parameter that should be ignored by Google, and any variations that have that tracking parameter in it should all be collapsed to a canonical definitive version. So that's fine, but that only handles Google, and then you have to go into Bing's version of that tool in Bing Webmaster Tools and do the same thing. My preference is to use the canonical tag and then just check it to make sure the canonical tag has been obeyed by Google, because it is only a hint. We didn't talk about canonical tags in this webinar. I wish we had time for that, but canonical tag is a better, more inclusive approach, covers all the search engines, and doesn't require you going into any of the Webmaster tool tool sets to change settings. Right. That's my. You could do to make sure that these tracking parameters are Google. So you do inner and then UTM source, or whatever the tracking parameters that you're looking for. Integral : UTM source, and then site : your domain.com, and see if any search results come up that have that tracking parameter in it. Okay, so let's move on.
Outside of canonical tags, how do you handle topics on a page that are owned and spoken to by several business units in a way that damages your SEO the least?
How do you handle topics on a page that are owned by several business units? I don't really understand the question. So basically there are different business units that are contributing content to the page, and you want everybody to get kind of on the same page, figuratively, in terms of going after the same keyword theme, perhaps. That's my interpretation of what they're asking for, but how would canonical tags relate to that? I don't know. So if you have...
Let's say Scott's clarifying.
Oh, good. Okay, so we'll wait for Scott to clarify. Why don't we address Liam's question about RankBrain? That's a good one.
Okay, how will SEO change in the era of RankBrain?
RankBrain. Okay, what is RankBrain? RankBrain is artificial intelligence. It's machine intelligence, machine learning, and Google is running at least it's running a, let's just say it's a multi-digit percentage of their of their rankings through this RankBrain algorithm. So search results are being returned by RankBrain in double-digit percentage of the time. That's amazing, right? So here's machine intelligence that we cannot peek inside the hood. We cannot reverse engineer machine learning because it's all very organic, and you just can't. You can't break it down to a set of rules. But what you can do is you can apply best practices, things that will enhance the user experience, things that will ensure that you're creating remarkable content, that you're getting it distributed through power users and influencers, and you're reaching the online influencers with this great content, that you're creating a search engine friendly architecture to your site. All this stuff applies, and RankBrain's probably going to end up controlling all the search results. So it's not going to be as simple as, well, you're going to build the site for spiders in these sorts of ways, right? It's going to be all about, like, I cannot figure out the algorithm anymore, so I'm going to just do the stuff that I know is going to make for an awesome website, and just hope for the best. But it's more than just hoping. It's just applying all the stuff that you know creates the best user experience possible, creates the best content, the most shareable and viral content, link-worthy content, etc. Links are still the foundation of the rankings algorithm, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. Citation, it's this a concept of citation analysis applied to the search algorithms. It's not going away, but the machine learning is definitely taking a driver's seat more and more. So that's kind of my short answer. Not really an answer per se, is kind of just kind of coloring the scene here for you, or giving you additional insight. It's not an easy answer, or it's not an easy problem to solve for an SEO.
Looks like Scott's clarified his question. He said there is a topic that is partially owned by multiple business units, and they address it across different pages that have about 60% unique content, but 40% recycled content across all of them. And he's wondering, how do you optimize your SEO when different business units own parts of a topic and they're chosen to all run their own pages, recycling about half the content across each page, or are we SEO doomed?
Okay, so with the content that you do control, that's unique, you need to make it super valuable and not just like SEO copy. It can't just be, well, it's got the right keywords in the right places and it's informational. No, it has to be compelling. It has to be worth people like retweeting the stuff in there. Once you've hit that threshold, now you're onto something. And the fact that 40% of the content on that page is duplicate from and on some other pages as well is not as much of an issue. But I'll give you a little technical explanation of duplicate content, so this will help kind of clarify things. So this is a little bit geeky and technical, so bear with me. There's this thing called shingles. If you were to imagine, let's say, a 5 or 6 word long window, and you were to run that across a page of content and then run that across another page of content that you're trying to compare the two to see if they're duplicate of each other. So you're a search engine, you're trying to figure that out, and so you're running this 5-word window across these 2 pages and seeing how many shingles are in common between the 2 pages. Just shuffling the paragraphs around is going to do almost nothing to diversify all these shingles. Very few shingles will be affected by you shuffling paragraphs around. You'd have to pretty much paraphrase, rewrite everything in order to massively change the overlapping shingles. So that's another way to think about duplicate content. When you have 40% of the page recycled, if you add more copy that you do have control over, you're reducing the number of overlapping shingles. When you convince the owners of the powers that be that the recycled content should be allowed to be paraphrased by each business unit, so it doesn't have to use the exact same copy, that's going to empower you guys to be better at SEO. So no, you're never SEO doomed just because you have some duplicate content. You have some unique content. Make that unique content really count, like be amazing. Phew, so I think that was all the questions.
I think that was all the questions. Well, thank you so much, Stefan, for being with us and presenting such an outstanding webcast and sharing your knowledge and expertise with our audience.
You bet. It was awesome and fun. And like I said, if anybody wants to ask further questions of me, they can feel free to shoot me an email at stefan@stefanspencer.com, and also check out my all my resources on the stefanspencer.com website. Oh, and subscribe to my podcasts, please. They're brand new, and I really need some more subscribers, and I need reviews. So if you love the podcast, rate a review on iTunes. There's Optimized Geek and Marketing Speak. Thanks again.
We'd like to thank all of you that attended our webcast today and hope you've benefited from it. And thanks for submitting all those thoughtful questions and participating today. We invite you to visit webcast.o'reilly.com and take a look at all our upcoming events. We have an event with Stefan's co-author, Eric Ng, on December 1st. And it'll be about the future of SEO and digital marketing. So if this webcast piqued your interest, you might want to check out Eric's event, and that's at 10 a.m. on December 1st. And if you go visit webcast.o'reilly.com, there's more information about that. We'd also invite you to sign up for our weekly email newsletter that tells you what's coming out. We do events quite often, and we hope to see you on one in the future. Thanks again for joining us. This will conclude our webcast today. Goodbye, everyone.